After a fascinating open round at the Nürburgring GP circuit, IMSA Vintage goes across the pond to a tighter, more complex confine of Mid-Ohio. Who will conquer the rolling hills and who will be parked before the final flag, hoping for wider berths in the future? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the second round of the iRacing IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Our director is Christian Deploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. My favorite road course to drive in the Audi, Mid-Ohio provides a unique for the drivers today. To find out why, let's take you down to our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Located halfway between Columbus and Cleveland, Ohio, this track has become a road racing staple in the Midwest. The full 2¼ mile version is what is most frequently used, but it also includes a chicane layout and a short course. While each one officially has 13 turns, they do have distinct differences. The chicane layout was the only version for the first part of its history, in which the keyhole included a bus stop style back and forth jink on its entry. The short course simply bypasses the whole keyhole section altogether. The various turns have some rather famous names, such as China Beach with its downhill braking, inviting you into its eponymous sand trap, or Madness, which is a single file set of S's with drastic elevation change. There's also the carousel, and this more than 180-degree turn offers a variety of lines that can be taken. Perhaps the most unique feature of the track is that in the real world, starts are rarely taken on the pit straight. Instead, the green flag is given along the backstretch where an extra flag stand sits. Naturally, sports car racing is the main staple of the venue, but motorcycles have a long history here, and in more recent times, NASCAR has started to hold races at the track. It also hosts driving schools and days for amateur racers to get on the circuit. The Buckeye State is often more closely associated with dirt track ovals, but the amount of history and prestige in Mid-Ohio's events make it just as worthy of notoriety in the region.
Well, Craig, this place is fairly contentious among the IMSA Vintage community. Why don't you tell us a little bit about why?
Well, you like it. I like it as well. I just don't race a lot of it here. Welcome to Lexington, Ohio, a track that has this layout has been here since the 90s. It used to be a track for IMSA. These cars would have driven around here back in the late 80s and early 90s. And it is a fun track for the drivers. You do see the long straights going out of the keyhole down to that little kink at turn 3 into China Beach. You're going to see a lot of the overtaking moves happen there and a lot of drafting. Remember the GTOs, they love to pack race together, kind of like NASCAR, but this is a sprint race today. It's not an endurance race, so you won't be seeing a lot of that. China Beach will be dangerous. 4, 5, and 6, a lot of elevation changes. So the Audis, they don't like that due to just the way it just doesn't flow very well for them. And then you've got that iconic Thunder Valley into 12 and 13. We've seen some really good moments there, Adam. It's going to be tough for multi-class around here just with how tight it is. The swinging white sweeping section will catch some drivers out, but the danger point, I keep bringing to us to it. China Beach at 4, 5, and 6. That is where dreams go and rest until you get yourself a metal detector.
Absolutely, that's where dreams go and rest, and sometimes careers go and rest too, Craig. But let's talk a little bit about the championship. Only one round under our belts so far. Jacob Reed won last week over Nick Makanos by about a second and a couple seconds at the end of the race. Richard Gardia got a nice third with Christoph Lesniak and Dustin Hirota rounding out the top 5. Seamus Power, Shady Ahmad, Fernando Serrato, Brendan Lim, Tobias Gerber round out your top 10. And it's going to be interesting to see how the championship stacks up. With no Audrius Valenteus in the GTPs or the GTOs today either, Craig.
Yeah, not even in the GTOs. Let's have a look at the GTOs because Michael Polasek won last week. He's nowhere to be found this weekend. We do know there are other events, so might be one of the reasons just a little bit double booked. But Jan Van Hicks looking like he could go and make some moves, but even he is not here today. So that falls onto Mickey Fries and Noel Lundberg and Doug Cloud. All three of those just there waiting to have a go. And of course, other drivers still there. Cameron in 7. Henry Morse making another comeback here. He'll be in 8. Ian Haycox again in 10th. Half of the field, I want to say, aren't here today due to other commitments for the GTOs, using one of their drop weeks early so far this season.
Yeah, very early. It makes sense. It's a very popular track, the 6 Hours of the Glen. But let's talk about our race details here today. Round 2 of 12, 40 minutes for these drivers with open setups. They can set up the car however they like or dislike today. No spare vehicle with a drive-through, 17 incidents, and additional penalties after every 25 incidents. And by that additional penalty, I mean it's a DQ for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers handle that going forward. But qualifying underway already with some pretty quick lap times in from the GTPs. 1 minute 10.2 for Shady Ahmad over the 1 minute 10.4 from Ilka Kuosalo, the GTPs. And in the GTOs, Mickey Friesen currently holds provisional pole with a 1:21.29er. So that's a 12-second delta between the GTPs and the GTOs today, Craig.
Yeah, that's going to be quite an interesting delta as well. That 11, 12 seconds, regardless of how you look at it, going to be quite a big difference. That means we'll probably see two, definitely, maybe a third time. We may get that mixture of half the field getting lapped a fourth time. We don't know. Jacob Reed is on his way. And here's China Beach. It starts quite nice with that right-hander. Then the left. Look how the camber goes in the elevation and then over. A little bit adverse camber. Down he goes into 6th, and now you start onto the S's, and you think the elevation change is over. It's not. More adverse camber, more off camber. He through now into 7, up into 8 he goes, now 9, and now this is Thunder Valley, and this is where we've seen some fantastic moves before. Another uphill left here into 11, and you think you get a bit of a rest. You've still got to keep that car counter turning to the right as you get ready for 12. This is the carousel. The track is still not flat as you come around the final corner. It's flat. He takes a little bit of a slide. That will affect, I'll tell you what, that still would have been good for 3rd, even with the slide.
Absolutely. His previous best was a 1:09.7, so that holds provisional pole position. We're looking at Henry Morse now, who has yet to set his qualifying time. He's on his first lap. Still 3 minutes and 10 seconds left to go in the race, so he's got plenty of time to complete a second one as he crosses the line to set his first qualifying time. It's a 1:21.462 for him. That's good enough for 4th position.
Yeah, good performance from Henry Morse, making his transfer over last season, I want to say, now just really starting to go and see what he can do. Here's Noah Lundberg as he just comes through the carousel section right now, taking it a lot slower here. You can't have that downforce, you can't have that speed. Tries to keep it flat here for the final corner at 13. He'll come across the line, no off track today. He improves on his time. He gets a 2-tenth lead over Mickey Friesen, and Mickey not doing a second lap will have to be complacent with that. So I believe that will allow, unless Henry has a good run here, or Jamie Hamill-Smith, of course, that looks like that could be another pole position for Noah Lundberg.
Absolutely. So Jamie Hamill-Smith trying to improve from that 15th position. Not a great qualifying time to start out. Looks like he's struggling a little bit with the classic Audi understeer. Around this track, you want to set up the car to have a little bit more bite from the back, so it slides. You want your brake bias pretty far backwards, so it slides through the corners to give you some more bite on the exits of the turns. He does a 1:23 flat. That's going to keep him in 14th position. Henry Morse there parking in the pit lane, and Ove Trangerade out there just running some more laps. He's on his 4th lap today. Everyone's set a qualifying time so far, though, except for Mickey Friesen, who was on his 2nd lap, but he's parked it.
Yeah, Henry Virmaki will be just finishing off here. Looks like he's had 2 off tracks for his qualifying times. He does indeed. Qualifying is going to be ended due to inactivity. That's going to be all she wrote, Adam.
Absolutely. Everyone set up their qualifying times or did not qualify, so let's get down to the results of qualifying. That's Jacob Reed with your pole position, last week's winner. Shady Ahmad is going to line up next to him in 2nd position, with Ilka Kodasalo lining up on row 2 behind Jacob Reed, and Jack Wells lining up behind Shady Ahmad. Row 3 goes to Farron Grau and Brendan Lim, with Fabian Jungbluth and Brandon White. Rounding out row 4, Robert Plumley is going to start off in 9th position, with Andre Felipe Diaz rounding out the top 10. And you know, we usually expect to see many slides here in IMSA Vintage, but today it's just 2, and it's just the first row of the 2nd. Corey Kalina in 11th, and Xavier Garcia did not set a qualifying time. That's it for your 12 GTPs today, Craig.
We say there's more slides, but at the car, the names are sliding today with the new graphics here. Noah Lundberg for the GTOs will be pole position with Mickey Friesen in P2. And then it's Andreas Schuster who will be 3rd, followed by Henry Morse in 4th. And then it's Ian Haycox in 5th, with Philip Lake in 6th, followed by Ove Trengerade in 7th, and Doug Cloud in 8th. Shane Hawkins will be 9th, and Emilio Dicciari will be 10th. And we have a second page as well, just a little bit longer for the GTOs compared to the GTPs today. as Cam Porter will take 11th and Forbin Pollock will be 12th. Then Justin Mullins will take that unlucky 13th with Jamie Hamilsmith 14th. Nico Simmons will be the last of the time qualifiers in 15th, and Henry Muramaki, he did set 2 times, but unfortunately they were invalid laps. He'll start 16th at the back of your 16 GTOs.
It's time to talk about the weather out here today. It's fairly hot out there. It's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 119 degrees Fahrenheit on track. That is 48 Celsius on track. That's right around where it was for the Austria qualifying for F1 earlier today. It's going to be 12:36 p.m. virtual standard time for these drivers with a wind of 5 miles an hour variable to about 7 out of the south. So shouldn't be affecting the drivers too much today. Just as you see our Porsche pace car pulling off to lead the field around the track to start this race.
You say it's not that warm. I just want to say that it kind of feels like 27 Celsius in the Craig King production booth here, and it does feel like I need that lower humidity that's on the track. And these track temps are really punishing, and you don't see these track temps a lot of the time on iRacing events. You'll see them mainly for that aforementioned Watkins 6 hours right now due to how hot it gets there in New York. Ohio can get warm. Don't ask me how I know. It can also get very cold. So this is a really interesting track temp. Now, what happens when it gets warmer out there, Adam, and the track starts to get hotter, especially in temps like this? You have to be smoother on the throttle, smoother on the steering. You cannot mash it. I know that's hard for these Audis with what they've got to do. The GTPs are going to have a lot of a challenge because that's smooth. Sometimes they really want to let that turbo hit. They're going to have to just wait a bit here. Smooth will be faster. And of course, smoother, less wear on the tires. And less wear on the tires mean better grip for the end of the race. We could see some late race shenanigans if someone overcooks those tires.
The tire wear isn't necessarily my concern here. It's actually the carcass temperature that concerns me as a driver. The tires that iRacing provides for these cars have a tendency to stay at their peak temperature for a while. So if you have any sort of slide moment with the temperatures we have out here today, you're likely not going to see the tires cool down for the rest of the race. And what that means is that you have reduced grip for the rest of the race. So as Craig said, smooth will be fast out here today for these drivers. They want to have as few unglued moments from the track as possible. The Porsche pace car coming through Thunder Valley now.
Coming through Thunder Valley, and this is where it's going to be interesting. You can see they can go side by side here. Don't really want to try and do that side by side for the rest of the race. Turn 10 to turn 11 at a fantastic moment last year, I want to say, round the outside, a free wide round the outside in the GTPs. Did see it once again. The pace car will go in though, Adam. They're under the control, Jacob.
And Jacob takes it at the apex just as I expected out of the final corner. Gets a nice jump over Shady Ahmad. Elko Codosalo and Jack Wells side by side as they head to turn 1. It's going to be, looks like it's going to be Ilka holding around on the outside, but then it's going to be Jack Wells who falls back a little bit. But they're still side by side as they head into turn 2. But what about the GTO start?
Well, there is a spinning GTP of Corey Kalina here, but Mickey Friesen managed to get the run around the outside of turn 13 to take that lead away from Noah Lundberg, and Henry Morse with a good start as well. And he gets on by a bit of a late breaker here, looking to try and make some moves. That's the number 14 of Ian Haycock. What can he do alongside Philip Lake? He gets it done, and Ove Trenger gets it done as well on Doug Cloud. Doug Cloud and Shane Hawkins not having a good start here. You see the 13, it's Philip Lake still battling this as they hit to China Beach.
Elko Codosalo also not having a good start in the GTPs. He's gone from 3rd back to 6th position as we watch the side-by-side battle between Phil Lake and Ian Haycock as they go into China Beach. And it looks like it's going to be Phil Lake who's going to be able to hang on to that. But you can run the outside around here. The GTOs have that all-wheel drive. And it looks like he's going to hold it out. A little bit of side-by-side contact between Phil and Ian as they go into the bridge.
Going to the bridge. Great driving from 2 veterans here. And they've managed to hold on to that. And that outside for turn 4 of China Beach is imperative for these drivers, because if you can hold it side by side, you can probably then keep it side by side and retake that position you lost going into 5, but do be expected to have a lot of side by side going into 6 as we watch Cam Porter not having the best of starts. But it's great to see Cam back on a Saturday as well. He's been a little bit busy the last few months. Great to see him back. Not the best of starts he would want. Key thing though, he's alive after 1 lap.
Exactly, and surviving the first lap is the key. Now it's time to settle in. You can see the understeer he's dealing with going through turn one, coming over that curb just a little bit. I often would late apex turn one as best as I could, but it was a real challenge to do that and maintain speed. As you can see, he's taking early apex here around the hairpins. We have a little bit of cloud cover helping these guys out. Whoa, that's a sliding moment from Emilio DiChiari off the corner.
Yeah, Emilio DiChiari, he got on the throttle a bit too early. Ove Trengerade came on by him. This is a lap GTP. It's not one of those position drivers, and he just could not get on the throttle early enough. He went into the back of Trengerade. I see a little bit of damage on the back of Ove Trengerade's car, which I don't think will affect the... hello, that's a little bit of a naughty move there onto the GTO there of the GTP, but just don't see it, Emilio DiChiari. Emilio, now, I need somebody new to have a bit of a rib with. I don't want to do it to Mickey Freeze anymore. How hot is it that you're wearing a hoodie here right now? I would be baking right now.
Some folks like to do a little bit of sweat prep for their boxing matches while they're doing iRacing, I suppose. But we're watching Emilio DiChiari take it through the corners. He's now tucked in behind Thorben Pollock as we go back up to the front of the field. The top five all under a blanket right now, with Mickey Friesen leading over Noah Lundberg, Henry Morse, Andre Schuster, and Phil Lake part of that group.
Yeah, not going good for Emilio. He got overtaken from Cam Porter, but we're keeping this lead battle up because this is what we expected to see. Remember, it's not an endurance race, and I was wondering to myself today, even though it's not an endurance race, these cars can zero stop a 60-minute race. So what's stopping them taking a bit less fuel than normal if they know who's going to be in the race and they know what the strategy is? Friesen and Lundberg know that they're just going to stay together. And there is Mickey Friesen. They know that they're not going to go for anything aggressive early on. So why not put a little bit less fuel? You're the expert here, Adam, when it comes to GTOs. Does that sound plausible in a sprint race?
Absolutely. If you know you're going to be racing with another driver who's of a relatively same pace as you, it totally makes sense to short fuel just a little bit and expect that you're going to be able to do some drafting over the course of the race. And with these two drivers at the front of the field, Friesen and Lundberg, it absolutely makes sense for them to be doing that sort of strategy around here. I would expect to see them swap positions halfway through this race as we see a late dive to the apex from Corey Kalina there. And that's going to bottle up the top five behind Noah Lundberg. Mickey Friesen, if he hasn't taken the short fuel route, he might try and break away here.
Yeah, he might need to do that, and it just goes to show how treacherous it can be for newer drivers on Mid-Ohio. It isn't the best of tracks for overtaking once you get away from those opening corners, and you just start to see the issues they're having. You're not missing anything apart from Mickey Friesen's gone off! And Friesen, with a little bit of a moment there, just getting a bit too hot, goes onto one of the classic ovals there, losing a lot of time. And that was just Mickey taking way too much curb on the inside and getting on the throttle way too early.
Yeah, I never understood. I mean, I do understand why drivers try and take that inside curbing, but it does send you out of the track if you're not careful. And he actually went for a ride. He took a couple of jumps through the infield there. And so he likely has some under tray damage and possible suspension damage that he's going to have to carry for the rest of the race as he recovers in 8th.
Well, that puts Andreas Schuster back up into 3rd, and Henry Morse is up 2 positions because of it. Gonna be tough for Mickey to come back here. However, the traffic is all bunched up together here. The top 7 all still in a little bit of a train, and there's Doug Cloud at the near back of the train as he's made up 2 positions so far today as he keeps on going, and he's having a little bit of fun out there. He knows he's got to keep it a little bit clean. Also be keeping his eyes on that relative, because I'd say give it another lap, and I think these GTPs will be going by. There's only really 3 cars close together in the GTPs. Not a lot happening until that first time by will happen.
Doug Cloud looking at the back of Ian Haycox and thinking that he wants to try and get by. That's because Ian Haycox has started to become a cork in the bottle for this second part of the lead train. Ian Haycox 9 tenths now behind the leaders and falling back. Doug Cloud shaping up for an inside move. Not super late on the brakes. Ian Haycox takes the standard racing line. Doug has to back out of it. You can see fastest lap from Jacob Reed. Jacob's actually going to catch up to the back of the GTO pack, probably into China Beach for these drivers. So from the back of the pack, the GTP drivers are going to start to cut through. The GTOs are not separated whatsoever. So it's going to be a challenge for both classes to navigate this.
It's tough to go late on the brakes in these GTOs, and Doug is trying. Doug is doing the best he can, but it's delayed lateness, if that makes a sense here. He's getting there, but he's also getting there a little bit tentative. He's not able to just slam it in, and you can't slam it in late braking in these GTOs. He realizes how much the issue is here, and he's looking to try and find a way around. Try to be a little bit unorthodox here. So he'll come over 9 and look down into Funday Valley to see if he can find something. A little bit of an overlap into 10. Yes, but he'll have the outside for 11, and he's going to be losing if he makes another mistake like that. Ove Trengade's right behind him, and this is great for Mickey Friesen, not because there's a cork in the bottle right now, but he's actually caught up to some cars already while the leaders are going a bit too fast. Ian Haycox is now 3.5 seconds behind Noah Lumberg.
Speaking of leaders, Jacob Reed is now tucked in underneath most of the drivers. Here's Jack Wells in 3rd position in the GTPs. He's about a second behind Shady Ahmad and also trying to navigate the back of the pack, but our leader Jacob Reed is currently cutting through the bottom of the top 10, or rather the bottom 10 of the GTOs, as he's trying to cut his way through. Watch this move here. Jack Wells looks like he actually just kind of moved over there for Farron Grau and let him through.
Yeah, very interesting. I thought he was going to do an over-under there for a moment, kind of accept it and try and make a run down into China Beach, as we've still got that battle with Doug Cloud going on in the picture-in-picture. But yeah, I was a bit surprised at that. Maybe he wants to be at the back here so he's able to just get a better advantage through the traffic, see what the traffic's like, and then make a move. Let Farron punch the hole through, and he'll follow through, because that's probably his safest bet here if he's not got the confidence. Because look at what's happening to Farron here, trying to find a way around, and he cannot find anywhere for Jamie Havel-Smith to get by, and Jack's just going to have to kind of punch open the hole that just got shut up there by Farron, and now he's going to be a car behind. Not a lot he can do. Right behind him is Brendan Lim.
Absolutely. We're watching Jack Wells onboard and offboard right now as Jack's trying to navigate through, follow Farron Grau through. He's tucked in behind Cam Porter right now as he's going to take the straightaway. He has an advantage, a run on Farron, but both of them are going to have to dive to the inside here of Shane Hawkins as they go through turn 1. Thorben Pollock is going to stay on the racing line as well and let them go by. And so the GTPs starting to navigate this GTO traffic and starting to break it up. I can also report that Andreas Schuster's probably stuck, bottled up behind Henry Morse a little frustrated because Henry Morse is dropped by Noah Lumberg to the tune of 0.8 seconds. It's stabilized over the last couple laps. That's going to be a challenge side by side between Ove Trengare and Mickey Friesen as Jack Wells and Farron Grau split both sides of those drivers. Oh, and look at this. Doug Cloud spinning in front. He's going to come back onto the track and make contact with Ove and with Mickey and go off again.
Now, Doug was trying to fight that. He was trying to fight that. That car was still not under control, and he tried his best. And he just tried to get it sorted, and it was a light tap. He avoided Ove the first time, and Ove got hit the second time. That is so unfortunate. I do wonder, there is no meatball flag there. Doug has pulled the car in for a lot of damage. Mickey Friesen got a very light tap there, so that's a little bit helpful for him. Now, though, he's going to have to try and do it all again to catch up to people, because this is the battle we were looking at for 4th and 3rd and 2nd. Morse, Schuster, and Lake in the reverse order, and they're getting through the first of that traffic, the lead traffic. A little bit sketchy out there.
Oh, yeah. Farron Grau going off track of turn 1 to go around the outside of Henry Morse, just trying to make hay there. And look at this. Jack Wells is going to go to the apex to take it away from Morse. So Philip Lake tucked in behind Jack Wells and Henry Morse as they went through the corner. There is Morse in 2nd position. He lost a decent amount of time through turn 2, just trying to stay out of the way of Wells, who took that late dive. Looks like Cam Porter's gone around as well. Major contact, I believe, with Emilio Dicari.
Yeah, it looked like Emilio tried to find a close door there. Was nothing there. Was basically riding the curb. Very weird move. I think Cam just had a bit of an understeer moment and just overbraked himself and just had to go and just try and hope for the best. And Emilio actually being fair.
That was 4 wide that we just saw on screen just before the replay. That was pretty insane. Here's the moment with Emilio. He did try and take it up the inside at the as Cam was going to the apex. And then as they were recovering, Emilio was backing out to let Cam get that position back, and it was 4 wide into China Beach.
Yeah, I can't believe that. He knew what he was doing, one would hope. But,
and Andreas Schuster's off now. I'm sorry. He got ushered off by one of the GTPs. He's going to lose 3rd position to Phil Lake.
Yeah, he's been pushed off there by one of the it was Diego Costasalo. And that was a weird one. We'll probably get a chance to look at it again in a moment. Very weird decision there. Now, Costasalo's towed the car, Oh, you know, he's done a drive-through. Not entirely sure what's happened there for him. We'll keep on to that. This is Emilio Dicciari. We'll get back to the racing instead of second guessing ourselves. Emilio Dicciari now trying to catch back up. He didn't just lose that position to Cam. He lost the position to Justin Mullins as well. So real good sportsmanship. Kind of backfired, though, because now he's lost another position, and he's going to try and do that late braking in for the keyhole once again.
So the lead of the race, Jacob Reed has an 8.5 second lead over Shady Ahmad. His pace is absolutely blistering today. None of the gaps of the GTPs are under a second at the moment. And at the front of the GTO field, it's 1.7 seconds between Noel Lundberg and Henry Morse. Philip Lake is 1.7 seconds behind Morse, and Schuster 1.8 seconds behind Lake, as we see passes going on here towards the back of pack. Cam Porter getting ahead of Emilio Dicciari, and Nico Simmons staying ahead of Cam Porter right now as Justin Mullins gets involved.
Yeah, it was Dicciari getting past Mullins, and Cam Porter tried to get past Simmons, couldn't do it, and then Dicciari tried to go for a move, and look at the super focused Cam Porter as he keeps on driving. I do love it when we get our web cameras up and see the drivers, and you get to see just the concentration. And now there's not really any multi-class traffic to go around. They're full focus a little bit more on what's happening around them, and they know there's cars behind. He knows that the car in front does Cam Simmons, just waiting for that opportunity. Now, this is the replay of Schuster. I want to keep this up. There's no gap there. I'm sorry, Costa Sala, there is no gap there. And it's one of those corners, and I believe that was turn 10 into 11. Yeah, going into the carousel. You think there's room there to go around the outside. The track tightens up, and he's riding the curb. That's why he went on straight. He tried to brake on the curb.
Reminds me of the race losing incident in the Nürburgring 24 over the weekend. Just no gap there, and the grass is not the best place to find traction.
Yeah, not what you want to see at all as well, because you just have to behave and just hope for the opportunity, like the opportunity with Cam Porter right now, getting it on Simmons, and he's going to try and do this under braking at China Beach. Can he get this hell? We've seen so many drivers unable to do it. Left a little bit of a door open for Simmons, and Simmons will take it. And has Cam got a bit too high up there on the bank curbing of 5? He hasn't held on to that position. Tight for a moment, full focused again. I wonder if we'll see a sigh of relief on him, or will he just keep full focus? No emotion shown there from Cam. He's just full focus now as he hits the S's.
Knowing Cam, this is a mildly frustrated face that he has wearing at the moment. I know that incident that happened earlier with Emilio Dicciari must be frustrating, taking him out of the battle for the top 10. Our leaders in the GTPs are still very spread out, but Farron Grau has caught to the back of Shady Ahmad at this stage. He's just playing with being within a second of Shady as we continue to watch Emilio trying to hold off the two drivers behind of Nico Simmons and Justin Mullen. He's been able to dispatch of Simmons over the last couple of laps, and now is just trying to stay attached to Cam Porter. But I can report that Mickey Friesen's taking a look at Ian Haycock's for 5th position in the GTOs at the moment, as Farron Grau closes the gap to Shady Ahmad to under half a second. And side by side here between Shane Hawkins and Thorben Pollock as well.
Yeah, Thorben trying to hold on to this position. He had to hold on around the outside of China Beach. Real good defense there to actually hold that position around the outside of 4, keep to the inside of 5, and then seal it in 6. So keeps that P7. Shouldn't worry too much. He's 5 seconds away from Mickey Friesen, 5 seconds ahead of Jamie Hamill-Smith, so not a lot to do. But here's Jacob Reed. He's about to hit the traffic a second time, and he's in another class today. He's 11 seconds ahead, and he's on lap 13, which is basically to the tune of almost a second a lap faster than everybody else in the race today. And now he's about to hit traffic. Everyone's going to have that sigh of relief that maybe they'll find 10 seconds, but you can't find 10 seconds.
Oh!
This man, he almost got taken out. What's on up?
Unreal! That was Justin Mullins just washing out of the corner and then trying to turn left to catch some more traction. And he almost took out our leader, Jacob Reed. A little bit of a clip there. That was the scariest. That was one of the most unfortunate moments I've seen. Side by side here between Ian Haycock and Mickey Friesen for 5th position. Mickey's trying to make that move on Ian, who couldn't get it done this time.
Yeah, couldn't get it done. Yeah, he actually locked his brakes up, and that was what caused him to lose control there. He was never trying to hit the GTP of Jacob Reed, but almost so close. And now Friesen, this is an important position. He's already 9 seconds behind the rest of the leader, Noel Lundberg, who's got a 3-second buffer. So he's going to try and find 6 seconds if he can get past Ian Haycock. That's going to be tough with 23 minutes and change left to do. Never say never, though, but where do you look for the opportunity? This is a tough section here through 9, down into Thunder Valley. You can get a run up into 10 and 11, but as we saw with Cam Porter and Doug Cloud earlier, not exactly that easy to make a move here. Just going to have to hope for the mistake.
Or you can attempt to use your VIP status as a little bit of a threat. Get a little bit bumpy, a little bit aggressive with the driver ahead and say, hey, you know that I'm faster. I'm going to make room for myself here and let you by. Philip Lake, speaking of which, making his way by Henry Morris. Henry, though, looks like he doesn't want anything to do with that. He's going to take a look up the inside, too. Late on the brakes for both of them. Phil goes to the apex, but Henry's taken that away, and so therefore he gives him room, just enough room. It's still going to be side by side as they head down the back straight.
Down the back straight they'll go, and that's a really good move to try and get this from Philip Lake and be around the outside, which is very treacherous, and he's got to do around the outside a second time. But this is the corner you see a lot of it. So late on the brakes they go, but Henry can't make that move. Fantastic defense here from Henry, but the inside belongs to Morse. Belongs to Lake. And it's hard to beat a veteran, but he's taking the fight to him. And a really nice dive in there from 6 when he had the inside. But don't hold your horses yet. Almost through the start of the S's with Philip Lake. If there's anyone that knows this track very well, it's the veteran, I think we can call him, Philip Lake. But he just got schooled a little bit there from Henry Morse.
Absolutely, a very calm, collected, and well-managed pass there, but Henry a little bit wide through the left-hander is going to give an opportunity back to Phil Lake. There is a way to pass through one, but you have to get an amazing exit off of these two corners. Philip doing the best job he can to try and set that up, but Henry Morris carries too much speed. He's going to have to try again another day.
Well, maybe he can as we keep our eyes on Robert Plumley. Just having a move on Brandon White, or Brandon White just deciding he wants to go into the beach and tries to rejoin, and not the best of rejoins there, I must be honest, on Viramaki in front of him, but gets on going. That's the first casualty today, Adam, we've seen in the beach as we go to GSRC replay. This was Justin Mullen. It was a little bit, look, goes for the braking, and he pitched in. The way I see it, the moment that nose pitches in, you're braking too hard, and I can see the rear wheels were locking up.
Side by side, it looks like Ian Haycock actually went off track. He might have a slowdown. He's given the position to Mickey Friesen for 5th position, so Mickey now needs 2.5 to 3 seconds to catch Andreas Schuster, and then he's got to find his way another 2 seconds up the road to catch Morris and Philip Lake, and then another 5 seconds up the road for Noah Lundberg. This is looking like a more and more insurmountable task as the race goes on, Craig.
Well, never say never, but, apologies, never say never, but you never know what could happen here, so still a lot to do. 10 seconds, we almost saw Jacob Reed get taken out, and anything can happen to these drivers as they go through the traffic once again, and this is where the traffic's a little bit spread out, just like Iker Costa Salo trying to look for some positions on Brandon White. They've got a little bit of a gap here, but the GTO field is surprisingly spread out at this stage of the race, Adam. I was not expecting it. The first time through traffic really did surprise me. Really put a lot of gaps up here, and Costa Salo, who took a pit stop for, not entirely sure why, it was a drive-through, I want to say. He is not having the best race here today. Maybe he can make some recovery drives here, but that traffic won't help him because it is so spread out.
If Kodasala already fell afoul of the 17 incidents that it takes to get an actual drive-through, that would be a little bit of a concern, concerning the fact that we still have half of the race to go, 20 minutes and 5 seconds counting, and look at this, Philip Lake still trying to attack Henry Morse, and they're slowly drawing Andreas Schuster into this battle with all their battling. They're 5 seconds behind the leader, Noah Lundberg.
Yeah, but 5 seconds is a long way to go. You just don't know. Surely something's got to happen. It's got to start to get past Brandon White on the timing tower, but this is the battle we're looking at. Where does Philip look for an overtaking? Again, with the GTPs, you can look for almost any corner here because of the downforce. The GTOs, they have to just wait for a moment. The elevation changes really are throwing what you can do. And the side-by-side you saw earlier with Cam, going too wide on the top of turn 5 meant he was off the camber and he was against this. This is Doug Cloud. What he's seeing in his little battle right now with Viramaki, well, not Viramaki, he's watching this ahead of them. Meanwhile, he just sees a GTP going by and just hoping that this GTP just keeps a little bit safe as Philip Lake still looks for a move. Is this a good time for an over-under, Adam?
It is a good time for an over-under, and looks like Henry Morris took the inside curbing, but so unfortunately it's going to slow him down a little bit, so he couldn't get the run that he was looking for. Here comes Shady Ahmad, second position. He's got Farron Grau and Jack Wells for company. These three are now nose to tail in the battle for second position in the GTP. So look at this, Farron Grau with a great run. He's going to look to the inside of China Beach. Late on the brakes goes Farron Grau, and he's going to try and take that position away. Now, this is where the differences are between the GTPs and the GTOs. The GTPs don't have the traction over the top of the hill the same way the GTOs do to maintain that sort of position on the outside. So Farron Grau is going to lose that position to Shady Ahmad. He's not able to make the pass.
Well, it was late braking from Farron, and I did see the car get a little bit sliding there. So I think he was braking a bit too much, and he tried his best, but then he already overheated the tires a little bit, and the track is still 47 Celsius, 116 Fahrenheit. It's gone down a little bit, but it is still smoking hot out there. And I think Farron heated up the tires because if he came out the exit of 5, he was unable to get onto the traction, but he's now got the traction again as Shady had a mistake going into the final corner. Shady might be boxed in here. No, it's Farron who's boxed in, and somehow Farron is unable to make this position. Jack Wells trying to make the fight. Shady is still living by the skin of his teeth.
Absolutely, and this is Corey Kalina up ahead of them, so a draft for Shady means that Farron's likely not going to get an overlap for a pass this time around. Still a battle between Thorben Pollock and Shane Hawkins for 7th position in the GTOs. And Philip Lake still unable to get by Henry Morris in the GTOs as well. Look at this side by side. Oh my goodness, that's contact. Farron Grau saying, hey, I'm coming through, Corey. Sorry, but I have to keep up with my competitor.
Again, the blue flags are advisory, not mandatory, but usually the rule of the thumb is that if you see a battle going on, if you've made the mistake, you pull out the way, and I do feel maybe Corey was a little bit too wide there and should have just yielded and just started turning in, and hopefully there is no real damage there for Farron, because if you get any aero damage here, even in the GTOs right now, we're looking at Philip Lake, continue hit little battle here on Henry Moore. You get any bit of aero damage on this track, well, look at the straights you've got. The start straight, the straight after turn 1 into the keyhole, and then the long straight down into China Beach. That's going to be a lot of aero loss and a lot of top speed you lose, so you don't want to get any aero damage here. Farron hopefully okay. Philip, he's looking. I don't know if he's got a run this time, but again, maybe into that run down to China Beach.
Yeah, so here we go. It might be a keyhole pass if we can get a good exit here. It looks like Henry's going to get a decent exit, so that's not going to happen. You know, one of the things you've been seeing in the shots is as they come over the crest of that hill on the back half of the course, just as they're coming into Thunder Valley, the GTOs, in fact, do get air there and slide all 4 tires. The all-wheel drive means that they can keep their foot planted and feel confident that when they land, they'll still be going straight, and it's actually the fastest way around the course. So that is, in fact, not just for fun. That's actually part of the race strategy to maintain the quickest speed. Phil Lake deep on the brakes into China Beach. Just blows it up before getting into the rear bumper of Morse.
I wonder if he's trying something, because that was very late, and I do wonder if that's a case of, hey, I might be able to outbrake you if we get side by side. Could be very interesting. You say about the cars going over 4 wheels in the air. They're rally cars by nature. Let them bide. Let them bide. They're just trying to go back to their roots here. As Shane Hawkins still looking to make moves on Thorben Pollock. Shout out to Thorben Pollock, though. +5 for the day. Really not a good qualifying, but really made it up with some good driving out here today. One of the highest, in fact, the highest gainer today. 5 positions up in P7. 5 seconds behind Ian Haycock, though, unfortunately. But this is a battle that he wants to try and keep going here. And I feel like he's in a really good position. But Shane is looking for the gaps here. And if you make a mistake like that from Thorben, I think Shane's going to be right on you here. This could be interesting because Shane looking like he wants to find an unconventional overtake here.
Absolutely, Shane's going to you have to find unconventional overtakes around this course if you can't get the exits off the corners to get the runs down the long straightaways. There are a couple of different places where you can make those moves. I actually like to make it into the braking for the crest just after China Beach. I found that was a great place to make a surprise move, and if there was contact, it didn't cause damage to anyone. But look at this. Around the outside goes Philip Lake.
Around the outside of that's very brave for Philip Lake, but that gives him the inside for turn 5, and maybe he holds on to this, and still there's a response here from Henry. He has to give it up, and that's a veteran-like move from Philip Lake, really showing Henry how it's done. Henry will fight this, but I think he's understood now with 14 minutes to go. There are different ways to do this on board as well, side by side with Cam Porter as he battles Danilo Dicciari. He's got the hoodie on because it's cold in Argentina. It's winter. Somebody forgot the North and South Hemisphere divide here, and he's just trying to warm up. And I got to tell you right now, Adam, that race, it's heating up.
Yeah, If it's this hot in the northern hemisphere, that means it's got to be absolutely frigid in the southern hemisphere right now, as these drivers duking it out for the 10th position and up to 8th position as well. I can also report that Farron Grau is back putting pressure on Shady Ahmad for 2nd position in the GTP. Shady, 19.9 seconds behind Jacob Reed. That other postal code is exactly what you were talking about, Craig, and that doesn't surprise me. Jacob Reed's been training over the last season to try and beat Andries Valenteus, but with no Andries Valenteus, he's out on his own.
Yeah, could someone get the bat sign and just put Andreas in it? Like, where is it? Does anyone know where the man is? I'm pretty sure he's just having a bit of a rest, relax, and just giving somebody else a little bit of time as Henry Morse keeps looking as well. We got this battle here for the podium, and we've still got that free-car battle between Hamel-Smith, Porter, and Dechari. And Farron Grau, Shady and Matt are basically almost side by side. In fact, Shady and Matt's just had a mistake. I don't know if we can get to it. He's actually just locked up going into the keyhole, and he's lost the P2 while these guys still battling for from Pollock, still looking for battle. Interesting. The cars have been very spread out, Adam, but still we're getting a lot of battles at this late stage of the race.
Absolutely. This is going to be interesting because this is Ilka Kodosalo who's going to take away the apex from Doug Cloud. The GTOs are actually faster through those last 2 corners than the GTPs, so it can cause a little bit of consternation when the GTPs sneak in between you. And also, with the hitbox being a little bit big for the GTPs, you can actually get your GTO nose under the wing and cause a spin if you're not careful. The apex taken away there from Philip Lake by Brandon White, who's trying to catch up to Ilka Kodosalo. We're taking a look at the replay of what happened to Shady Ahmad, just late on the brakes and too wide through the keyhole.
Yep, too wide. He managed to get it under control, but unable to do anything. What was interesting, we were just seeing Henry there. Philip went a little bit too wide off the apex, but then Henry tried to hug the whole corner. And I find the keyhole is more of a late apex hairpin. You just kind of want to wait for a moment, and you'll see it right now as Cam looks like he might be trying to battle that with Jamie. And you see Jamie went to the inside. I don't think holding that inside line is quicker through the keyhole, because look at Cam right now. This run is fantastic. And I saw, once he finally got free wide we go. He finally got free. He dropped his shoulders to relax. The shoulders are a little bit tense right now. He gets that position, and Jamie does not fight it. He can't with Jack Wells coming around the outside as well. Cam will get that position. Has to be careful with the traffic right now, but that is a very good move. He goes up to 2 places today into P9.
Emilio Dechari's rear tires are absolutely shot at this point. He slid it over the top of the hill. You just saw it there in the back of that shot. So he's falling down away from this battle as we have Shady Ahmad coming through after Shady's mistake. He's fallen back of Jack Wells and Farron Grau for that battle for second. But Farron Grau starting to gap Jack Wells now up to 1.2 seconds. In second position, Phil Lake and Henry Morse still nose to tail, only separated by half a second. And then the next closest battle is this one between Cam Porter and Jamie Hamel-Smith for 9th.
Yeah, Dechari's trying to catch up still, and it's tough. You see, he's just there, and he'll catch up again when he comes to the straight, such as the nature of a straight and slipstream. But I don't feel like he's got the ability to make moves right now. That's not me saying he can't. It's more the fact that the car is starting to lose grip with those tires. He's really struggling, but he takes a nice smooth line. And again, Jamie went for a little bit of a hugging movement there on the keyhole. I just don't feel that's the right move here. And I feel some of the drivers, I'm not a good enough driver to say it, feels like they're taking the wrong moves today.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you here. A little bit of an early apex there for Jamie Hamel-Smith through China Beach. And I just feel like the lines are not super optimized from a lot of these drivers. They're just a little bit stabby at the corners right now. And it's a little bit surprising that, I mean, I understand that it's extremely hot in the northern hemisphere and extremely cold in the southern hemisphere in real life around here. And it's very hot on track. It's 115 degrees Fahrenheit on the track right now. So I understand that fatigue could be playing a role as we have just under 10 minutes to go. We're 3/4 of the way through the race.
3/4 of the way through the race, and Henry is trying to get this position. It's tough out there for Henry, and you start to see just the cars unable to catch up to him. I say unable to catch up to him. That's Andreas Schuster 2 seconds behind, and he's matching with Lake and Moore. So he's unable to, ever since that mistake, not able to find a way through. And I do wonder about Henry, and it's not a knock at Henry. He's just, he got absolutely schooled with that move from Philip Lake. he's not going to try and do the same. Well, one would think he might try it, though. You don't know. Where does he look for the move now? Because this is Philip Lake. Philip's going to be able to pull away from these corners because look at the optimization we were talking about there. You were talking about there, Adam. It just feels that Philip's smoother here
Yes.
and just a little bit more confident. And look at it, takes a bit more of the curbing on the exit there and then opens up. And I've cursed the man as he locks up. But that's okay for the carousel. You late apex the carousel, even though he made a mistake, it's not affected him.
No, he's lost about a quarter of a second, but it's not enough to bring Henry Morse into danger attacking territory. You can see him taking an early apex there to signal to Andre Felipe Diaz that he didn't want his apex taken away. But Philip Lake has years of experience behind the wheel of a GTO, and even though he's just returning to the series after a long hiatus, he still has a lot of optimization on his single run pace. There again, though, a little bit late on the brakes and an inside front right lockup for him through the keyhole means he gave another opportunity to Henry Morse. But Henry ran his personal best lap, the lap previous to last one, so he's still trying to cling on to Philip Lake, but a lot to learn behind the experienced driver.
Let's move to a different driver because I praised Philip, you praised Philip. Both times he locked up his brakes. So let's find somebody else to talk about. Let's talk about this battle with Fabian Jungbluth and Brendan Lim as Fabian looked to try and make a move with 7 minutes to go. They will have traffic to hit. In fact, they'll hit P6 Ian and then that big bunch coming up as well. So not a lot of breathing space for these drivers as they look for opportunities. And this plays into Fabian's hands as he gets an ability to just get a bit more of a run. Remember, he had that 4 wide overtake last season at Oschersleben. So maybe he can do it. Maybe he can look for a move as Costasalo goes past Robert Plumley as well. That's a nice little move through China Beach. The positions are now starting to go, and we talked about it, Adam. Those tires, I think some of them, they're starting to cry out a little bit.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the reasons why Philip Lake is locking up through the turns is that he has some frontward brake bias, and the tires are just locking up for him at the moment. Here, yet again, is Fabian Jungbluth and Brendan Lim. They're battling for the 5th position as they themselves go through the keyhole. Look at this, a great run for Jungbluth. He's got a nice run. This could be an opportunity for a late braking move into China Beach, but with the tires as tired as they are, who's going to give up the inside line? Yeah, Brendan's going to give that inside line up and see if he can outbrake Fabian on the outside. He's going to hold that position. Fabian's going to try and do a little bit of a fade. He does cut the nose off of Brendan Lim and takes away 5th.
Yeah, really good there. I thought Brendan was going to try and set up for a little bit of a delay turn in there to try and help him get a run. Just couldn't do it there. Fabian took away all of the apex and not a lot he can do. Brendan does have a chance to fight back here as Fabian getting a little bit caught up here through some lap traffic. Doug Cloud, who's a couple laps down now after his incident and going to just hope for the ability, and Brendan just asking drivers to just stay calm a little bit there as he looks for opportunities. Not sure what he was asking for, but he always makes sure that the drivers keep it clean, but he's getting held up from Mickey Friesen. Not what he needed right now. And Mickey as well. Let's talk about Mickey for a moment. He's only a 1.5 seconds behind Schuster, not been able to make that charge like he needed to.
No, and unfortunately, he's about 5 seconds off of the podium. So with 5 minutes to go, unless that podium battle between Phil Lake and Henry Morse gets extremely argy-bargy, we're going to see those two stay ahead of Andreas Schuster, who's 3.5 seconds back of them. But Mickey Friesen is still trying to recover from that earlier incident.
Yeah, trying to recover. And again, he's got a T-shirt on, a black T-shirt. Surely it must be hot in America like it's hot in Europe right now. I don't get how these drivers could be racing right now, but how can these guys be racing pretty hard? Henry Moore still looking for an opportunity, but he gets cut up here because the battle for 5th and 6th in GTP is merging with this battle for 2nd and 3rd in GTO. And Brendan is struggling. He's going to try and take the corner away there from Henry. And the problem is both classes are fighting right now. So you've got to understand that, yes, it's not the right move to make right now, but he also needs to hold on to this battle, and Brendan's lost a lot of time trying to get through the drivers there. I wonder if that might be all she wrote for that battle, because not a lot they could have done, and that may have also helped Philip there, as Henry did not get the best of runs there.
Being said, Henry's still within a second of Philip, whereas Brendan Lim just clinging to a second from Fabian. 4 minutes left to go. And Jacob Reed, our leader, is just coming through the final couple of corners. So it's going to be about 4 laps for these drivers Still plenty of time for mistakes to be made. And to answer your question about how drivers can be racing right now, in most municipal areas in the States, we have pretty standardized, centralized air conditioning at this stage.
I don't know what that is. I live in a cottage. I have a cold fan on right now. That's all I've got right now, and that's what most of us have got in the UK. We don't believe in air conditioning. We don't believe in the heat. Noel Lundberg doesn't believe in the heat. He's having a nice, calm day. 8 seconds in the lead. We talk about Jacob Reed and his lead right now of a staggering 27 seconds. But we haven't talked anything about Noel Lundberg because he has been pretty, and I'm knocking on wood here, don't want to curse another driver. He's been absolutely on rails today, as they say, because it's just been so smooth out there for him. He really has taken that smoothest, fast epiphany that I was talking about, really made it work. He's not put a foot wrong. And the only time he's not really been the fastest car out there is when they were pack racing at the first phase of multi-class traffic.
Well, I'll be 100% honest with you. If I'm in Noel Lundberg's shoes, as soon as Mickey Friesen disappeared from the picture, I would relax a little bit because the driver behind me is Henry Morse, and he's fast enough to keep drivers behind him, but not fast enough to catch me. If I'm Noel Lundberg, I'm thinking, okay, I've got about 0.2 of a second per lap on Henry Morse, so I could just relax and race my line and not have to stress about the battle because there's not going to be one from behind. And he's just been hitting his marks ever since that pass. Ever since Mickey Friesen had that mistake out of turn one, and ever since then, he's just been running away with it. One person who's not been able to run away from Henry Morse, though, is Philip Blake. It's still 0.2 of a second here, and also that battle for second position, Fair and Ground Jack Wells, also under a quarter of a second.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting battle. I do wonder if Philip got to P2 earlier in the race. Would he have caught up to Noel Lundberg? Well, those are questions that we'll just have to ask another time. As Friesen, he's also looking for this battle. He's caught up to Andreas Schuster. Real good drive. If he gets his position, you could call this a really good recovery drive from Friesen. Not the position he would want, but you cannot not getting a P4 after everything he's done. But he's got 2 minutes to go. He's got 2 laps to go. Let's be brutally honest right now. Not sure he's got a chance if he's going to be able to do it. But as we saw, he made a mistake going into turn 1. Can he force a mistake out of Schuster? That's the question. I think Schuster's going to be a little bit smarter today.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that Schuster fell off of the battle with Philip Blake and Henry Morris, as I expected Schuster to put a little bit more of a challenge on Philip. Here is Jacob Reed. It's going to be 2 laps to go for Jacob, so it's the penultimate lap for him as he passes this battle. Mickey Friesen trying to do a little bit of a fade to block off the line from Kodasal and get a better run into the keyhole. Can't quite do so. Kodasal is going to go around the outside and take away the exit from Friesen. So Friesen's going to have to tighten up the corner. It's going to lose his opportunity to battle Schuster down the straight.
He loses the opportunity, but he still gets a slipstream. So that's one battle that he can't do now, and he's going to have to just wait. Jack Wells also battling as well as Ferran Grau goes around the outside of Cam Porter. So Jack will go through the inside of Cam Porter. But that's going to cost him a little bit of time having to lift off there and just wait. And I do feel this is Ferran's race, or P2, to lose right now. Real good driving around here. I think last time Ferran almost had the victory over Balanteus. So it does feel like this is the type of track that Ferran would excel at. And it's tough to really bet against him right now with 2 laps to go. I don't think he's gonna really lose his position to Jack.
Keeping my eyes on the battle between Andreas Schuster and Mickey Friesen. These two nose to tail right now. Friesen putting heavy pressure on Schuster. They've got Corey Kalina going by, a lap GTP, as well as Robert Plumley, who's going to be trying to go by through turn 1. Who is it going to disenfranchise most, Schuster or Friesen? It looks like he's actually going to back out and allow these two to battle through the corner. I think Friesen's kind of disappointed at that. Look at this, Friesen just clinging to the edge of grip there. Plumley staying behind. Now he's going to go around the outside, and Friesen's going to back off a little bit, try and make sure that he doesn't lose too much time through the corner, looking for that late apex, but unfortunately the back end stepping out just a little bit. This is possibly his last opportunity at this pass.
Yeah, Plumley didn't want to make that move. He was waiting and waiting, and then he hesitated on making that overtake through the straight, and that's what cost everybody. And you've got to feel that maybe that just also cost Friesen and mounts the curb a bit too much. This is Jacob Reed. He's going to overtake Noel Lundberg, so there's not going to be another overtake. Viramaki just had a spin, by the way. He loses P14, or they keep P14. But this is Jacob Reed, and he just goes past Noel Lundberg. He won't let Noel do a 1 lap on his own, surely.
Let's see what happens. He's backing off. Noah Lundberg's going to try and back off too. He doesn't want to do another lap. You can see him hitting the brakes there, but Noah's going to be like, all right, whatever. I'll do another lap, I guess. So Noah Lundberg's going to do another lap. Jacob Reed will win the race. 23 seconds ahead of Farron Grau. Lost a lot of time over the last couple laps, but he had enough time to hemorrhage.
Well, it's going to be interesting for Noah Lundberg to have a little lap on his own, but everyone else had to finish. Jack Wells going to see if he can make one last heroic here. Through the carousel he'll go, but I think he's a bit too far away here. It'll have to be a drag race to try and get to turn 13, and it won't. Farron Grau with a fantastic drive to get that P2 away from Jack Wells today. Great driving. We still got that battle for P2 in the GTOs, or we did. Philip Lake was able to hold off Henry Morse. Here comes Brendan Lim for one last run on to Fabian Jumel with a lot of cars ahead that are not battling, but he can't make it. Late run there, but the finish line is so early. 10th of a second, he just needed a bit more.
What a race that we had today. A lot of interesting moments from a lot of series regulars around here, a couple of relatively new drivers as well. Just great battling all throughout as Noah Lundberg is just taking a victory lap on his own right now. He's the only driver who has this extra lap left to do. Noah Lundberg is going through the final corners now.
Yeah, you know what? He knows it, and he's just going to have a little bit of fun. He's going to start drifting. He's got it all under control. And he's now going to just get it go by. Like I said, a quiet race for him. The moment Mickey Friesen made that mistake, that was it. And he just dominated today in the GTOs. Who can stop him? And furthermore, who can stop Jacob Reed? I know one man, but I don't think he's going to be around next week.
I also know one man who might be able to stop Noah Lundberg, and he won last week's race, but this week neither of them were here. So it's going to be Jacob Reed with the win, 24 seconds over Farron Grau at the end, with Jack Wells coming home in third position. Shady Ahmad's going to come home in a solid fourth ahead of Fabian Jungbluth in that last little bit of battle, with Brendan Lim coming home in sixth position. Ilka Kodasalo finishes seventh, with Robert Plummerly in eighth position, Brandon White ninth, and Andre Felipe Diaz rounding out your top 10, one lap down. And then the last two drivers in the GTPs were Xavier Garcia and Corey Colina, both 2 laps down. That rounds out your 12 GTPs.
And let's go to our 16 GTOs, because Noah Lundberg was able to go an extra lap than everyone else, thanks to Jacob Reed, and he'll win the race over Philip Lake, who made 4 positions up today into P2, and then Henry Morse will be third. Andreas Schutz will be fourth, and Mickey Friesen tried that recovery after that mistake. He will come home in fifth, followed by Ian Haycox in sixth. Shane Hawkins will take seventh, and Corbin Pollock made up 4 places into eighth, with Cam Porter in ninth. Milo Dechari will be 10th, with just the last 6 drivers to go. Jamie Hamill-Smith will finish in 11th, and Nico Simmons will take 12th, and it's Justin Mullins in 13th. And then here, Henry Viramaki, who had a small moment out there, will finish 14th. Doug Cloud had to take repairs earlier on in 15th, and Ove Trenger retired early, finishing in 16th.
And we do have a driver who is in and around the lake to talk to us. That is Phil Lake, who is going to talk to us. Phil finishing in second position. Phil, you had some great battles with Henry Morse over the course of this race. How was the racing out there for you?
Yeah, it was good. Had a lot of good battles with Ian at the start, then Andreas, and Henry at the end there. So it was a pretty sweaty race, but it was a good one.
Absolutely. You gained 4 positions over the course of this race to finish in that second spot. Obviously, Noah Lundberg had plenty of time to run away with Henry Morse falling back of him over the course of the race. But how is it managing the traffic out there, and especially on the tight confines? A lot of low-speed corners here at Mid-Ohio. Must have been a challenge.
Yeah, it's not too bad, actually, to manage because you don't have a lot of choice. So after China Beach and that section before the little crest, they can't pass you anyway, unless you make a mistake yourself. And then after that, it's just that left-hand kink, which is a terrible place to get past, but that's one of the only choices they've got. And then into turn 1 and turn 2 and turn 3, and that's basically it. So it's kind of simple, but not easy. If that doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean.
Oh, I mean, I completely understand what you're saying, but Phil, it's been It's been a couple seasons since we've seen you consistently driving, and now we've seen you over the last 2 races, actually the last 4 races, I believe, in the GTO. What's it been like getting back into the GTO and, getting your chops refreshed in this machine?
It's taken longer than I thought. I think this week I think last week I was practicing for Nürburgring, but I couldn't do the race, and I think I found a little bit of like the old feeling that I was trying to find with the car. And then this week, I like these tracks anyway, like really difficult little technical tracks. So I think that helped. So hopefully what I think I've sort of regained will carry on to next week.
Yeah, we hope so too. We hope you have some good luck next week at the long sweeping mid-speed corners of Portland. Is there anyone you want to thank for your second place finish today?
No, just you guys for the broadcast as always.
Well, thanks for joining us, Phil, and it's great to see you joining us more regularly again, and we wish you luck next week.
Thanks, Adam.
That was Phil Lake, who finished in 2nd position today, and we also have Cam Porter to talk to us. Cam finished in 9th in the GTOs, and he is with Craig.
Yeah, talking about a guy that's come back after a while, a guy who's come back on a Saturday for the first time in a long time. It's Cam Porter. And Cam, I know to the track, I don't think you enjoy much, but it looked like you were having a nice bit of battle there with Emilio and Jamie. And you've got to give a shout out to the respect there from Emilio earlier in the race.
Absolutely. He and I are normally on the same pace often, so we're often racing. I've raced enough with Emilio to know that he's a respectful, conscientious driver, so I don't feel any ill will towards Emilio because of that incident. I haven't reviewed it yet, but it seemed like he may have tried to stick his nose in there. A GTP was lapping me, and I let them go on the inside, and I was going to go back to the apex, and he probably thought he had enough time to squeeze in there. So, like I said, respect to him for letting me go ahead of him. But that was a heck of a fun race, I gotta say, racing closely with Thorben at first, and Shane Hawkins was in there, and then me and Jamie and Emilio in the second half. So thumbs up, really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it looked like you enjoyed it. You were we could see it sometimes when you're in the battles, very tense there and just trying to keep it all together. But you also look a little bit worn out there. And I was going to mention the heat, but I want to mention the heat of the track because this is one of the hottest tracks IMSA Vintage has gone to for a long time. Were you feeling it a lot more today? Because we know those tires, they don't like heat.
I'm not the type of guy that really pays attention to the track conditions. I just jump in the car and race. I think everybody knows that by now. I don't, I don't super analyze my, my telemetry or tire temperatures or anything like that. I just jump in and race, and I think that's part of what keeps it fun for me. I don't work too hard at it. It should be fun, in my opinion. I don't want it to be a part-time job. So. Yeah, just jump in and floor it. That's my MO normally.
I'm gonna put Cam brackets Kimi Räikkönen Porter later for that. They'll leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. But it's great to see you again as per usual. Next week is a brand new track for the series. It's Portland. What's your experience with that? Because I know, again, we talk about the get in and have fun. We'll get to that in a moment. What's your experience with Portland?
Well, in iRacing, I only did one race there, and that was when the track was first released in week 13. So, however, back in the old R Factor 1 days, it was one of the tracks that was in our regular league rotation. So I've done a lot of laps there. I really enjoy the track. Really looking forward to next week. Just can't wait to get out there and Portland.
And the last thing you said about having fun. What is it about this series? Because I think there's only better, if there's anyone that says to have fun, it's you. Sell the series. What is it about this series that just makes you keep having fun and you feel that others, because I think the floor really should be yours to just tell everyone, give this a go.
I've been doing it long enough that the camaraderie has been built between a lot of the drivers, the regular drivers. There are regular drivers, obviously, that are here almost every week. Like today, for example, there were only 2 names I didn't recognize, so it's great to have that rapport with other drivers because I feel like that makes them respect you more, and you give respect back, and you get respect. So that's one of the best things for me about it. The other thing is just the thrill. You know, the difference in the speeds between the two classes is so great that you're always like in some kind of exciting situation. So this series is really exciting, and that's why I keep coming back.
And that's why we love seeing you every time we get to see you. Cam, thank you so much once again. It's great to see you all. It's always great to see you. And I know Adam usually just gives me to you, and I'm like, yes, thank you. I just love talking to you. Thank you so much once again, Cam. P9 today. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Thanks, guys. You too.
And that was Cam brackets Kimi Räikkönen close bracket Porter, as I'm now branding him, Adam. And that will do it for the day.
Yes, it will, and that will do it for us as well. That's going to be us thanking IMSA Vintage again for bringing us on for this season. Thanks to the team today. That's Craig, Christian, and Dougie. And make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next round, round 3, it's Portland. That's July 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Get those hangovers ready and watch that race on GSRC, and you're not going to want to miss a moment here either on the rest of the races you can find on GSRC. Next race is going to be the Classic Lotus Grand Prix. That is Sunday at 12:30 Eastern time, and definitely don't miss that one. That's going to be an exciting Classic Lotus Grand Prix for sure. And don't miss the other upcoming races here on your screen as well. We hope you have enjoyed joining us today as much as we've enjoyed bringing this racing to you, and we hope to see you back again soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.